Welcome back, English class. Here's a couple of tips and tricks for your argumentative essay. Okay, number one. Normally, the structure of the classic argumentative essay is to give 2 or 3 pro points towards your stance or your argument, and then you're going to give at least 1 point against your argument, which is going to allow you to counter-argue whatever that negative point towards your stance is. My suggestion is don't just stop at 1. Add 2 or maybe 3 counter-arguments into the essay. The more counter-arguments you can bring into the essay, the more it's going to show that you're willing to look at the other side, the other perspective. And not only have you looked at the other side or the other perspective, but you know it so well that you can argue against it and prove that your point is the correct point. So that's tip number 1. Choose more than 1 counter-argument and include it in your essay. Point 2, tip number 2, make sure that in your argumentative essays, it is clear where your support, the research that you're citing, quoting for statistics, important quotes from experts, etc., be clear and state where that quote is coming from or where that data is coming from and why it is so important. So many times people use a quote or they use data and they do not fully explain why it's put into the essay, or they don't explain the importance of who wrote it or who did the research. And that's just because students grab research and they throw it in there and they want to make it flow well with the sentence, but they forget that whoever did this research may or may not be an important figure on that topic. Now, if they're not an important figure on that topic, maybe you want to brush over that. But if you know that you've chosen a world-leading expert on this topic, and it's going to help support your stance, then definitely mention who that expert is, when the research was done, why the research is so significant, and why that quote or data is special and important to your point. That separates your quote or your data from just being some generic piece that you're throwing in there to prove your point, to also acknowledging this expert or this specific study backs up what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, that's tip 2. Tip the 3rd. What you want to do in this argumentative essay is you want to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that your stance is correct. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. But my suggestion to you is don't push the point. And don't try and force the point that your point or your opinion is correct. State your facts, state your figures, give out your claims, support it with your data, and leave it at that. If the person that's reading your essay wants to believe that you're correct, they will. If they don't, then they won't. You cannot force a person to believe what you want them to believe. A person can only believe what they want to believe. And if you presented your argument well, with well-reasoned support and support from your texts and well-reasoned arguments, then they're going to believe you. But that does not necessarily mean that they will agree with you. And don't take it hard if they don't. Some of the best arguers in the world still have people that disagree with them. Some of the people that have the most sound logic in the world still have people that disagree with them. Because when you write a persuasive or argumentative essay, contrary to what a lot of instructors are going to tell you, the point is not to convince your reader that you're correct. The point is to convince your reader that you believe you're correct and that you can soundly argue a reason and defend your claim to prove that you are correct. The point is that you are not objectively correct. The point is that you have solid reasoning, you're objective, you're credible. You're using logos, pathos, and ethos to prove your point, to show that you are a credible author, to show that you've done your research, to appeal to the emotions a little bit, and to show that your argument is logical. The point is to show the reader that your stance is a possibility. Whether or not they want to believe it is up to them. Those are 3 tips for improving your argumentative essays. Good luck on them.